Let's talk about the big news this week. That is that car companies are selling your data of your driving habits through a third party company that is going to sell them to insurance companies that could decide how much you pay for premiums and whether or not you even get coverage in the future on your vehicle. Yeah, this is kind of controversial. Some people are upset about it. Some people aren't. I don't know. I just want to get your feedback on what you guys think, whether you're upset or not. So the story comes from my forum.pickuptrucktalk.com. I was out of town this week, wasn't really catching up on news, but I keep track of the forum. And guys over there talking about it. Steve Leto had done a video on it, and he's a lawyer. I hope I'm saying that right. He's a lawyer who does YouTube videos and pretty interesting videos he puts out. And so he's talking about how this story from the New York Times talks about how car companies are using your data. They're going to go ahead and sell your data. And so we know more about this from my friends over at gmtrucks.com, gm-trucks.com, Zane and Josh Murva. They actually wrote a whole article about it because they have 3 vehicles. And their Chevrolet, Buick, and GMC vehicles are snitching on them, even though they told them not to. Let's understand this. So there's the OnStar Smart Driver Program, which we're talking about, OnStar Smart Driver Program. It is a program that you can opt into, opt out of. It collects data, and what it does is it talks about how many badges you earn, how much your brakes happen, acceleration, keeping under a certain speed, all the kind of stuff you're doing as a safety feature. So it gives you basically a driver report. And I saw this also in the forum. We have a gentleman over there who shared his report as well, and it's just this black screen monthly report. You can look at miles driven, trips taken, badges earned, braking, and acceleration. What he points out, which is interesting, is that he doesn't understand what the numbers are for braking. Like, what does it mean for hard brake? What's it mean for acceleration being great? What does all that really mean? It's just kind of a overarching term that doesn't really make sense, as far as there's no really understanding of what that means. So what Josh and Zane's here right in the article that he talked about was it's an opt-in service. And so it analyzes that data. And so what the story is that data is collected by the OnStar Smart Driver, and it's sold to the insurance company through an intermediary data broker. In this case, LexisNexis. It's a huge data collector. And so looking at his report or his OnStar information for the Smart Driver, and then he's got the terms and conditions here about what they're going to use for data and what they capture. And so what's interesting is somewhere along the line, things have changed. Now we find out it's necessarily true. We opt in. When I opened my GMC and my Chevrolet app this week, you found out it was not. I found not only was I enrolled in Smart Driver under my business account, which is an active OnStar subscription in place, but also in his personal account, which does not have an OnStar subscription active. All 3 of the vehicles, which he's never enrolled in the OnStar Smart Driver program, had the feature enabled. Turns out he's not alone. Quick look online shows there's lots of people talking about this, that they're not the only ones who've said, I don't want the service. Then they go in their app and they realize they actually had the service. And what the collection's doing is they're using the data and they're sharing with LexisNexis, right, which is a third-party analytics firm. It's a global data brokerage analytics firm. And it's analyzed this data and it's giving it to insurance companies. And presumably it has your name in there. It has your VIN number, your vehicles. It has all information that you have given GM through the opt-in service, whether or not you opted in or not. I think that's a real crux of the issue. So we have a couple cruxes of the issues. We have collecting information for insurance purposes. Not really a big fan of that. And collecting information without your consent, which is what they did not give consent. The Mervis did not give consent on that. So he's looking at a variety of concerns, accuracy of the data, the specter of surveillance. I mean, we're being big brother phenomenons going on big time in this country. Here's another layer of it. Demand for transparency. There's an article by Forbes on a significant demand for greater transparency from GM and other automakers regarding their information, their data collection and sharing practices. We want to know more about that, right? We want the right to control our personal data. I mean, we shouldn't be sharing stuff we don't want to share. And the broader context of privacy erosion, right? So our privacy is less and less, which is, I think, is the key question here, and the question I'll leave with you guys is, where is your privacy? So that's the thing that's happening from the forum. The conversation I have in the forum a lot is that this invasion of privacy, but we're also already giving information away through social media and looking at the terms of service of like Hulu and Netflix and different things, aren't we already giving our data away to those services as well? So there's a generational gap there, I think, a little bit. I'm seeing on the forum, especially, a younger generation is like, well, I'm giving data away anyways. Who cares? Older generations like, no, nope, not happening, right? But I mean, I'm being generational here, which is not accurate. There's definitely some people in my generation that don't want to have their privacy put out. They don't post on social media. They delete all their accounts. They don't want to be part of any of this stuff. So what happens to those people that they didn't know that they were sharing information, then now all of a sudden they are. So there's a couple. There's like I said, a lot of questions to answer here. Are you okay with GM and other brands collecting your data and selling it to insurance companies through a third-party service, if that may mean you pay less in premiums? Isn't that kind of the deal, right? So if you find somebody who's a bad driver, who consistently has claims, consistently gets in accidents, and drives up the insurance cost for everyone because of their bad habits, don't you want that person singled out and that person pays more and you can pay less? Okay, so that's a good thing, right? So that person pays more than everybody else pays. But how much are you willing to give up to make that happen? How much of a privacy concern are you willing to give up to make that happen? And then, looking at from automaker standpoint, they stand to make millions off your data, right? That we've talked about this in journalist groups for a while now, that all this data collection is just additional profit for the automaker. Once the automaker decided they could sell services beyond just the vehicle sold price, selling on dealership, through OnStar, through connected services, through having Wi-Fi in the vehicle, once they decided they could make money on that, then they're like, okay, where else can we make money, right? Where else can we charge? Can we do like BMW did overseas and charge for heated seats? Dumbest thing ever. But I mean, that's the question, right? So automakers are making millions off your data. You may or not be subscribed into knowing that you share that data. You may be okay sharing that data if it means you pay less, but you may not be okay if your privacy concerns are not met, right? If you're just sharing information out there, you don't know where it's going, you don't know who's using it, you don't know what the information is, you don't know what it means. What's in a heartbreaking mean? Does that pop up a lot? Are you what does that mean? How to get a high score, right? So is it a video game? Do I got to start stopping long way before the stoplight? Do I got to make things different? I mean, how do I drive to get that higher score to get better insurance? Dun dun dun. I'm sure I missed one other angle of the story. I'm trying to make sure. I think I thought them all through in my head this morning. There's quite a bit of information. But put your comments down below. I'd be curious to you guys' thoughts, because the forum has been kind of back and forth. It's been back and forth between people saying, I already, give away my terms of service and all my privacy concerns when I sign these documents anyways. And people saying, oh, hell no. And so I'm curious where you guys are. Put your comments down below on that. Also check the forum as well, where I get information from. Check out other videos here on the channel that way. As always, thanks for watching. I will see you down the road.